Due to the Safer at Home order issued by Governor Cooper, members of the MWBE Citizens Advisory Committee are participating virtually. All members vote by roll call. A member will be recognized, at which time the member will state his or her vote.
So good afternoon, members of the MWBE CAC committee. I'm going to call the roll for the MWBE Citizens Advisory Committee meeting being held today, Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. Vice Chair Leah Metz.
Here.
Committee Member Cassandra Brunson.
Present.
Committee Member Drew Gertzmeyer. He has already acknowledged that he would not be attending this afternoon's meeting. Committee Member Cornelius Graves. Committee Member Jordan Gwynn.
Here.
Committee Member Stephen Hemrick.
Here.
And Committee Member Ethel Witt. Also on this call, we have Kim Millett, the Director of the Office of Business Inclusion and Advancement, Hannah Hernandez and Alex Bohannon with the Office of Business Inclusion and Advancement as well, and Larry Bell with the Marketing Department. And now I'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair Metz.
Yeah, so if we could do an adoption of the agenda and the minutes. Do we have a motion for that, for both?
This is Stephen. I'll make the motion.
Great, thank you.
This is Jordan. I second.
Great, thank you.
And then I'll do the roll call vote. So Vice Chair Leah Metz.
Yes.
Committee Member Cassandra Brunson.
Present.
Committee Member Jordan Gwynn.
Yes.
And Committee Member Stephen Hemrick.
Yes.
And now I'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair Metz.
All right, I'm gonna switch it over to Alex.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you.
I had some camera issues, so I had to switch. So for this afternoon, we have two good faith efforts that we will be reviewing. The first is...
This meeting is being recorded.
We're going to start with the Easton Park Restrooms project, and that was submitted by Creative Designs. I'm going to bring that up here. Everyone see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, all righty. So to begin with, for this project, we had an established MWBE goal for 7% with minority-owned firms and 4% with women-owned firms. The goals that were submitted for this project were 3% and 1%. So beginning with item A, did a representative of your company attend the pre-bid solicitation or pre-bid meeting? They did, and this is a screenshot from the sign-in sheet from that pre-bid meeting. So for item A, they would receive 10 points towards, which is a full points possible for that item. Are there any questions here for item A? For item B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? Here, they did not provide any evidence of advertising, so they would receive 0 points for item B. Item C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms to determine that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due to allow MWBE firms to participate. For this item, they need to send that to at least 3 minority firms. Each solicitation shall include a specific description of the work to be subcontracted, a location where bid documents can be reviewed, a name of a representative for contact, as well as a location, a date, and a time. This is a screenshot from what they submitted, part of their invitation to bid, where you have, so bids were due on July 30th. Bids were opened on July 30th. They required that bids would be due to them by June 29th at 2 p.m. The date that they sent this, it's dated for June 16th, which is more than 10 days before the date that bids are due. There are phone numbers up there. This is an additional screenshot that has the work, and it also has the plans and specifications, a link in there, and then it also has who to contact. So they did not include a list in there. They did not include a list of each individual firm, but what they did do is they basically included a really long list that's like each subcontractor is basically one page because they use the Hub website. I can actually show that to you. I'd be more than happy to do that, just so you can get a good picture of sort of what I'm talking about. It's a little different than what we are used to. So can everyone see this PDF? I'm going to try to make it bigger. So what they did was, as opposed to including like a list of these firms, they basically printed out these one-pagers from the Hub website, and there's like 18 pages of just this sheet that has the name of the firm, what areas they selected on the Hub website. So they submitted that as opposed to the list. And I'm actually pulling this from, they didn't submit something in addition for letter C. This is actually what they submitted for item D. I'm just using it because a lot of times contractors will submit, one whole list, and then we kind of use that. Are there any questions for item C? They fulfilled all the requirements for that item. So they would receive 15 points. I'm going to jump back over to my PowerPoint here. Okay. So for item D, the telephone log, this requires that they submit a telephone log to let us know which firms they reached out to. They did not include a telephone log, but as you all know, we substitute that. A telephone log is not, we sort of take an email log as a substitute for that telephone log. And what I just showed you is what they submitted for item D. I believe that would suffice. It is a list, and all of the firms are Hub certified because they come straight from the Hub website. So I believe that list would count for item D. So a full point allocation would be appropriate here, I believe. Are there any questions for item D? For item E, how did your company identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of participation? and including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units. So here what they highlighted a little bit is that they said that in their invitation that they will consider dividing elements of the work into economically feasible units to facilitate participation. So that's their statement to that effect there. There's a total point possible, 15 points are the total possible points for this item. And I think that statement is appropriate for a full point allocation. Any questions here? For item F, explain how you provided interested firms with equal access to plan specifications and requirements. Here's a screenshot from their invitation to bid where they included a link to a Google Drive with the plans and specifications for this project. For item G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms? Not rejecting MWBE as unqualified without sound reasons based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities. Here, we asked for the contractors to submit a subcontractor quote comparison form. This is theirs. For the plumbing, they didn't receive any minority bids. Electrical, they received one from J&K Electrical. For concrete and labor, they received one. For concrete materials, they received one quote as well. For it says for an exterminator, they received a quote from Aero Exterminators, but the comments say it was for the wrong job, that they accidentally submitted a quote for another project, and then when they reached out to get the actual quote, they didn't respond. And then the last one where they received a quote for was seed irrigation, and the subcontractor was Mid-South, so they didn't put whether they're an M or a W there, but Mid-South is a W. I know because they've been on other projects before. But they put in the comments that they perform that kind of work and they could price it lower than that. Are there any questions about item G? Item H, what services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office, available minority organizations or other organizations to provide assistance in recruitment and placement of MWBE firms? They need to provide a copy of this documentation. They reached out to Jakira to request some assistance with reaching out to subs, and Jakira provided that. She sent out their invitation to bid to our vendor list. And so I think that they provided evidence just of utilizing one agency, so they would receive the 5-point allocation for that one, just 5 points, not the full 10 points. For item I, how did your company provide assistance to otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? They said that we will appropriate joint pay agreements to facilitate purchase of materials and supplies for projects and provide assistance in obtaining better pricing. This says will, as in a statement, as in this is what they're going to do, but I didn't find any evidence of implementation other than, I believe, let me see. This is a, yes, this is a, this looks like a previous, this is a check. It's dated for 4/25/19 for a different project, I believe. And they provided this, but there aren't really a whole lot of details on this. So I can't really tell you if it's a part of a joint check agreement or if it was a purchase of supplies. But that's what they included. Item J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? They said that they'll provide direction and assistance in obtaining bonding or insurance if required. You can receive 10 points for offering and 15 points for implementation. I don't believe that they provided any evidence of previous implementation. This statement would I believe would count as offering. With item K, they did not claim any points for item K, so they would not receive any of the possible 10 points. And then for item L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? They said that we will arrange a payment schedule to meet individual cash flow for qualified invoices. And then in a note, they said that they pay every 2 weeks unless a vendor requests payment earlier than that. So as a practice, as a standard practice. So here they can receive 5 points for offering, 10 points for implementation. 15 points would be appropriate here since they've stated that they have an established policy to pay every 2 weeks. And then they also said that they could pay earlier than that if a subcontractor requests it. And with that, are there any questions about this good faith effort?
Actually, do you mind repeating your conclusion about J? I think it was so quick I missed it.
Say it again, Sandra, I'm sorry.
Do you mind repeating what your conclusion was on J?
J.
Yeah.
Sure. So for J, I believe that just on that statement by itself, they would receive points for offering. But they did not provide, this is the one, no, I believe that this statement is evidence of offering, right?
Yeah. Well.
Because there was usually they say explicitly, on a project that either doesn't require it or they don't require it, they'll be more explicit about that. Here, it just says that they will provide direction and assistance in obtaining bonding or insurance if required. We normally ask for a little bit more than that if we're going to provide the 15 points for implementation.
Yeah, so it's an offer.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Okay, got it.
And on L, what was the implementation? They have the offering, but was there an actual agreement with somebody that they showed us?
For item J?
For L.
L.
Sorry.
No.
Okay. So they wouldn't receive full points because we don't see any implementation. They have the policy, but we don't know that they've ever used it.
No, so and to that point, I think normally what some contractors have done is they've said this is our policy, and then they provided a copy of that policy, and we've used that. So we haven't, when a contractor says this is what we do, we have in the past allowed them to provide us with, if they haven't provided us evidence of them implementing that, they have provided us evidence of their policy. And because we know that the policy is standing, they've gotten the full points previously. So this group has established precedent for awarding full points for that before.
Because it's like it's in place.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions I can answer?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. So if there are no further questions, I'll let Sammy Gupton in, and you all can ask additional questions. Good afternoon, Sammy. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, Sammy. So the MWBE CAC committee has reviewed your good faith effort that you submitted. So if you'd like, feel free to give some context to your good faith effort submission, and then the committee will ask any questions if they have any.
All right, I'm not sure I understood everything you said. They've reviewed it and what?
You can give context to your submission if you'd like. So if there's anything that you would like to elaborate on to the committee, you can at this time. Or if not, the committee can just go into asking you questions if they have any.
Okay. Well, my daughter put it all in an organized book here, so hopefully I can answer any questions they have.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the committee have any questions?
I need for it to be louder, but I don't know how to do that.
Do you see like a little microphone button at the maybe bottom right-hand corner of your screen? You're just muted. Okay, now you're off mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but not really well. Just go ahead and I'll try.
Okay, does anyone from the committee have any questions?
Yes. Hey, Sammy, this is Leah. Question on joint venture or partnership agreements with minority firms. Is that something that y'all do with minority firms?
We have not joint ventured with anybody. We have done joint pay in order for the minority person to get credit for the cement. We wrote the checks in the cement company and they gave him the same price that we buy bulk cement for. We did that on, I think it was North Ward that we had in 2019. But I haven't had anybody ask about a joint venture. My problem is that I don't get any bids from people. I've sent out, I usually send out 20 to 30 invitations if I can find them on the historic, the HUB site, the historical underlying business. That's where I go. I use them and the city to find the minority people. And I really thought there was a lot of electricians out there that were minorities. So I thought surely I could get a electrician, and the only one that is the one we worked with before, and he didn't even work up he just gave us a ballpark figure. So that's why I contacted the city and asked the lady to send out more invitations because I wasn't getting any. I do the minority stuff. I make the calls, send the letters, decide, who I'm sending, whatever the work is that we need, which we really needed plumbers and electricians and cement, and basically just general labor. I mean, I just took stuff that somebody just didn't put any trades in their HUB thing. And I even sent them an email and asked them, what do you do? And then I called them. So I do follow up with calling, and I'm sure Kathy emailed all this, but where I call them is I print off the HUB so that I can prove they are, they are a minority and listed. And then if I call them, I write the date down that I called them and whether they didn't answer or if they responded or what. I usually do that 2 different times so that somebody that might not answer the first time might answer the second time. But this job, we just really didn't have any luck with getting written bids. I got one from a lady in Greensboro that sent me a quote, but it was on a piece of property in High Point. So, but I've worked with her since, and she has sent me a quote. So we may add to that. And the amounts that we have on our sheet are low, I know. So there'll probably be more, but I've been caught in a thing where somebody didn't finish a job or we had to do something different and had to pay them less. So I'm just being safe by putting a low figure in there, but it's possible we could find enough minorities to meet the quota by the end of the job, but not now.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
I'd like to, hi, Sammy, I'm Cassandra. Did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? And right now, we don't show any evidence of that. Is there a reason why?
I have not advertised anywhere. I have put up, not for any jobs here, but for my landscaping division. I have posted in the past with Halls, and we have hired a few people from what they call the projects, Cleveland and Piedmont Circle.
Wait, I'm confused.
But anyway, they are, it's a Section 3 type thing. That's the only place I have posted for minority.
What's it? You mean like some type of, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the Piedmont Circle, all that. Is it a publication, a print material that's circulated in those neighborhoods? Section 3?
No, they've got a board in their offices.
Oh.
And I've posted there for...
not this one in the past.
Not for the city, not for this one, no. But you asked me that's the only place I've ever advertised.
Okay, so I was more concerned with, for this one, was, is there a reason why you did not?
No, I haven't. I don't pay to be on some of the sites that, like Plan Hub or Dropbox or whatever some of those are. And I know maybe somebody picks up bids out of those, but I don't advertise for.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might address the concern that Leah had previously with the amount of
So where do people advertise?
Social media, iSquareFeet. Can y'all name some more?
Social media? Minority-focused media that some contractors use. I can send you a list via email, but they use the Chronicle, KPASA.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you, honey.
There's several minority-focused media that contractors use. Some examples include like the Chronicle, KPASA, the Black Chamber, Greater Winston-Salem. So those are different avenues for minority-focused media. For any future projects, I can send you a list so that way you can send your solicitations to those places as well.
All right, I appreciate that. Send it to me email so I can, because I don't, I've just never done that. We've done, I think there's only maybe 2 or 3 of those, that whole good faith effort that we haven't done.
So I just want to add to that. You mentioned not paying for a certain one, but LinkedIn is a professional site that you can post opportunities on also.
That, now what?
LinkedIn.
Link?
Yeah. It's just another professional social media site that you can post opportunities on as well. It's free. That's what I'm getting at.
I don't have time for social media and Facebook. I'm hardly ever on it. I do think I have a profile in LinkedIn, but it's never helped me with anything.
Sammy, I'm not suggesting that you spend time on Facebook. I just mentioned LinkedIn, and it could contribute to the problem that you discussed with Leah previous to this question. If you had someone on your team that could probably do some of those things. That's all I'm saying.
All right, can you email me something about your suggestions? I would appreciate it.
I think what Jakira has mentioned before, I think the ones that Jakira mentioned will be more useful. They may come at a cost. That's why I was mentioning the LinkedIn.
I mean, I'll send you the links to the LinkedIn website, so that way, if you'd like, you can create a profile for free. And as because committee member Cassandra Brunson was saying that you can advertise your jobs there as well for free.
Okay, send me how to do that.
Will do. Does any other committee members have any questions for Sammy?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. So Sammy, thank you for joining us this evening. Alex Bohannon, the diversity compliance specialist, will follow up with you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for attending this evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And I'll turn it back over to you, Alex.
Okay. Moving right along to Dreambuilt Construction's good faith effort on the Sprague Street splash pad project. I will share my screen. Everyone see okay? Okay. So for this project, the goals were established at 15% minority-owned firms and 2% for women-owned firms. The goals that were submitted were 10% for minority-owned firms and 21% for women-owned firms. So they exceeded the W dramatically, but they just missed the M goal by about 5%. And the goals were relatively high on this project just because of the scope. So it's a conversion of the Sprague Street pool to a splash pad. So there's a lot of concrete. There's a lot of concrete work, a lot of shifting. And so that's why you see that the goals are a little bit higher here. So first, item A, did a representative of your company attend the pre-bid solicitation? Dreambuilt was in attendance. This is a screenshot from the sign-in sheet from that pre-bid. So for item A, they would receive the full 10-point allocation. For item B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media? Here they advertised with the Department of Administration, and they've included, this is a screenshot from the email that they sent to the hub office to advertise. And then they also submitted an advertisement to, I'm forgetting the name now. It is a Hispanic. I think it's the Hispanic Contractors Association. That's the second place that they advertised to. So out of the possible 15 points here, they would receive 10. For For item C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms? Here for item C, they need to provide us with a solicitation that identifies that it has been sent at least 10 days before bids were due. They need to have sent it to at least 3 minority firms. Each solicitation has to include a specific description of the work, as well as the location where the documents can be reviewed, the name of a representative, as well as the location, date, and time. Here, this was sent on April 28th, and it has the, that's the date that it was sent. And then here I've included some screenshots where you have a specific description of the work, and then also when the bids are due. And so they sent it with a lot more time than 10 days before bids were due. And then it has the contact information, phone numbers, emails, things of that nature all there. So for item C, they would receive the full possible point allocation, which as a reminder is 15 points. For item D, did you follow up the initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether they were interested? So this is just a portion of a multiple page document that looks just like this, that has the name of the contractor and their email or emails, different contact information on the side here that they reached out to. So there were quite a few of these firms that they reached out to. So for item D, they would receive the full 10-point allocation, possible allocation for item D. For item E, how did your company identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units? So here, and they specifically say areas of work are broken down into the following to encourage participation, and they have a list. And so here for item E, a full 15-point allocation would be appropriate. Any questions here? For item F, explain how you provided interested MWB firms with equal access to plan specifications and requirements of the contract. Well, they've included a Google Drive link so that anyone interested can click and view the plans. They would receive the 10 possible points here, the full 10-point allocation. So for item G, this is where we ask them to submit their subcontractor quote comparison form, and here it is. I've kind of had to divide it up to make sure there's room on the screen here. So for demolition, they received 2 quotes, but none of them were from MWBEs. For grading, they received 1 quote from a WBE, and they actually used it for the MWBE goal, even though it was not the lowest. But in the comments here, it says that the pricing for that first one was skewed due to a combination with the demo, and it was really hard to compare those two. For surveying, they received a quote from one of our common surveying subs, MLA Design, and they said that they will add to the goals if the alternates are approved. For erosion control, they didn't receive any MWB quotes. Landscaping, Mid-South irrigation, they used it for the goal, and they said that some additional work will be added if the alternate's approved. For fencing, no MWBE quotes. Concrete supply, no MWBE quotes. Concrete finishing, they received one quote from a minority-owned firm, and they will be using that one. But they put in the notes here that they actually reached out to them. They didn't receive a quote. They reached out to them and got a quote. For recycled concrete, it says that they reached out to Louder for supply and they used that quote, but the Louder isn't an MWBE. For dumpster hauling, they didn't put a number here. They said it varies. That we don't get that too often. Plumbing, they are going to use Nick's Plumbing, and Nick is a WBE, and they've used that for the MWBE goal. They didn't receive any MWB quotes for plumbing supply, nor for electrical. And then they received one quote from Yadkin Valley Paving for $34,000. They are using that. It'll count toward the goal if the alternates are approved. So are there any questions here? I know that was a lot of information at once. Nope. Okay, so for item H here, it says what services were used from all of the federal, state, local, municipal organizations. Here, they included screenshots from communications both with myself and with Darren Redfield, who works in our purchasing department. Unfortunately, because Darren and I both work for the city of Winston-Salem, you can't use the city of Winston-Salem twice to receive the full 10-point allocation because we both the same organization. So they would only receive 5 points out of the possible 10 points here. And just in case I didn't address this explicitly, but for item G, full points are appropriate. Or the full point allocation is appropriate out of a possible 25 for item G. For item I, how did your company provide assistance to firms regarding in needs of equipment, loan capital lines of credit, or joint pay agreements? They put this quote, and actually what's interesting is that they highlighted this quote from their invitation as applicable to letters I, K, and L. It says Dreambuilt is also willing to provide quick pay agreements to help with cash flow demands, but this item doesn't address quick pay. However, in a note, they said we have in the past offered to purchase materials on our accounts with vendors on behalf of subs, but they didn't provide any evidence of having done that in the past. So maybe when they join the call, you all could ask them about that, but they didn't provide any evidence. So, and also this is tricky because that statement doesn't really address item I. It only addresses the quick pay portion, which is item L, but in their letter, they said that it applied to all three. So right now, I haven't really seen any evidence of them offering or providing implementation for item I, except for, I'm sorry, they have offered. It says in the past that they have offered this, but they really didn't put that in their solicitation that they would offer it, if I'm making sense. That bottom screenshot is basically, that was a note that they left for us in our review. That wasn't included in their solicitation, if that makes sense.
Like, Alex, you mean like in an email or some type of message communication, they said that they had offered it in the past. Oh no, the offer to purchase materials on their accounts. So, but it wasn't in the actual solicitation.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So for item,
would it have to be in the solicitation for us to give them credit if they've said that they've done that in the past?
I would think that the subs wouldn't know that the offer is on the table if they don't make it.
It would have to be included in their solicitation letter.
Yeah, because a lot of times contractors, and we've heard this in some conversations before when contractors speak to the group, is that a lot of times they put the onus on the sub to say, well, they didn't ask that. We do this, but they didn't ask us for it. So, what do you kind of want me to do? Well, we encourage contractors to do in the way that this is written is we want them to explicitly state that they offer these things so that provides the MWBE firms with the opportunity to say, okay, I don't really need to take the additional step to kind of see if this is available. I already know that this is something that they do. And that makes the bidding the process of them soliciting the quotes a little bit easier for them on the front end. So I would agree with you, Kira, on that. Item J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance, or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance? So this is similar. So again, this quote, because there wasn't explicit language in their invitation. I mean, they did, there's a sentence right there that says, please contact us to discuss your needs for this project. So they are seemingly open to discussing things, but the note that they put in was that this project did not have any subcontractor requirements for bonding, thus no requests were made. In addition, insurance assistance is always offered and would be available upon request. So they're stating that, again, that's something that they put in their note when they were putting their good faith effort together, but it would have been nice for them to include that in their solicitation as well. No points for item K. For item L, did your company provide quick pay agreements to enable minority contractors to meet and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? Again, same statement from their invitation. And then their note says quick pay was not offered nor requested by any MWBE firm. We have in the past, however, offered overnight direct pay services via our commercial business checking account. We also typically pay within 7 days from completion of work and receipt of written invoice after owner/architect approval. And so just because we're seeing a pattern here, and that's the last slide, but I wanted to pull up their invitation. So this is their invitation. See, I'm glad I pulled this up, everyone, because it seems like I missed an entire paragraph. So here at the top here, I'm gonna zoom in. It says Dreambuilt Construction is willing to review any possible legible, itemized, timely quote, and will negotiate terms if appropriate. If you need assistance with obtaining bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance or joint pay agreements, assistance with unit pricing at local suppliers, etc., please contact us. We will review your needs and direct you to the available agencies for assistance. The trouble is that this is from this copy of the solicitation that you all are looking at is from when they submitted for item C up at the top. But what they submitted down here, where they had everything highlighted, down here, J, K, and L, they put that down here. So what I did was I was like, oh, that's their evidence for J, K, and L. So let me include that in the presentation. But really, they mislabeled where the evidence was. And that's where I got tripped up. So let me circle back. So for items I, J, and L, they would all, at the very least, get evidence of offering. So for item I, that means 10 points. For item J, that means 10 points. And then for item L, that means 5 points. My apologies for the confusion. Are there any questions?
So I guess seeing that there are no questions, I'm going to allow Carolyn Thurman with Dreamville in. She's in the waiting room.
Shakira, did something happen to Leah?
Yes, she had to step away. Carolyn, can you hear me? Carolyn, can you hear me?
Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know how to do this. I never use Zoom or anything, so y'all have to bear with me.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Okay, good.
The committee has reviewed your good faith effort submission, and you can choose to elaborate on your submission if you'd like, or if you would just like to move forward with any questions that the committee may have.
Okay. I'm not sure what that just meant, but hold on. I'm still trying to get all my windows in a place where I can see them. Okay. Okay, so you said that it was reviewed and what? I need to...
The committee has reviewed your good faith effort submission.
Okay.
If you'd like, you can elaborate on your submission, or the committee can proceed with any questions that they may have to ask.
Okay, I don't think I really had anything to elaborate on. I'd rather see what questions you might have first. That might be easier than me rambling on for no reason. So,
well, thank you. Does anyone from the committee have any questions for Carolyn? Well, Carolyn, I don't think anyone from the committee has any questions for you. At this time, like I said, if you'd like to state anything, and if not, that's fine as well.
the only thing that I wanted to state in hindsight was that there are a few MWBEs that we planned on reaching out to that we did not hear from, but you know, we're more than willing to see if we can get them to quote things like, I think I mentioned GP Supply. They did not give us a quote, but we've used them in the past on other jobs, not with the city and with the city. So that was one I'd planned on reaching out to. And anything else that, or anyone else that might be come across our radar, we would be happy to reach out to and add it to what we have. And I did want to mention that it's very difficult to calculate the percentages when there's alternates that might or might not be approved. So I had a lot of notes in the margin about if it's approved, then it's this percent, but I just didn't know how to do that on my documentation when we turn in our bid. If you just do it on the base bid, but then if they add the alternate, sometimes a very large portion of an alternate might actually be an MWBE supplier or sub. So you kind of lose that when you can't include them, and then they get added, and that would be of a higher percentage, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's really relevant or not, but I did want to mention that it was difficult to show a true calculation because we didn't know at the time which alternates would or would not be used. So we were, you know, it just depends on how it plays out as far as what those activities are and what they involve as far as being able to involve some other suppliers and subs.
So if you don't have anything else for the committee, Alex Bohannon, the construction diversity compliance specialist, will follow up with you.
Okay. Were there any questions for me specifically, or?
I don't think so. I haven't heard any questions from the committee members present.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry that it took me so long to get my act together on this end.
No problem. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So if there are no further questions regarding this good faith effort for Alex or myself, I would like to thank you all for joining us this evening. Leah did have to step away. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. The floor is yours.
Nope, I don't have any.
Okay, well, thank
For
you all
me.
You had one, Jordan?
No, sorry, I was saying no questions for me.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Jakira. Thank you,
Thank you.
Alex.
And don't forget to submit your scores by tomorrow afternoon by 5 p.m.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Steven.